it's not only Europe anymore, right? Europe has been the beginning with the UK and the PSD2 in the European Union. However, in the meantime, there is a perception in the market that the waters are relatively calm at the moment with open banking, but behind the curtains, there's a lot happening. So looking at Europe, for example, which, as I said, where the leading region triggered open banking globally. We have more than 500 registered TPPs. Lots of companies have been launched, and if you look into what fintechs are doing right now, providing new applications for retail customers, for SME customers, those companies are valuated with very high amounts. So there's a lot happening. When you look into the UK with the open banking, the number of transactions rised up. I think in August it was 700 million AISP, account information requests, and still quite low, 9 million of payment initiations, which is around slightly more than 1%, but it's also picking up. As we are seeing more and more account-to-account payment-related use cases also being developed and implemented in the market. Is one of the big things at the moment, how to use open banking rails to allow new type of payment flows. Then looking outside of Europe, I would say in the MEA region, we have open banking regulations coming up in the UAE. Saudi Arabia has announced to come up with a regulation. So there is a lot happening on top of the other suspicious countries who have started the journey already. Now, I think from the bank's perspective, looking into behind the curtains is, yes, many banks have invested in opening up, in technology, in transforming their organization into an open API company to act as a more, let's say a platform business. Looking at the fintech side and those who are using open banking mechanisms and open banking rails to create new services, these companies are heading towards a super app approach. So how can they really bring in multiple players into one place to provide that super app? And how can banks compete, or how can banks build those services to be part of that ecosystem? And what we have also discovered is that the whole journey about, and even talking about it, has changed the mindset a lot at the leaderships of large banks in many regions. That is now, thinking about how can we be part of it, right? It's not the case that the banks will be the only ones. They will be part of the ecosystem, but an important part, especially when it comes to trust. They will play an important part, but what's their play here? So that's something that banks are looking at right now to invest. Now, and as a last point, I want to highlight, since the topic today is open banking, open finance, open data, I think regions like or countries like UAE and others, they are tapping into open finance directly without going that open banking journey where you have access to account or current accounts only or savings accounts and to initiate payments. In open finance, we are talking about a 360-degree view of the customer, looking into different other financial products and services like insurance. So Petro will talk about pensions, mortgages, loans, investments, and more. But that's only access to data to allow new type of services. But open finance will also allow to initiate transactions like we have seen in open banking with payment initiation. We will see use cases like apply for a loan or apply for a mortgage or or buy a policy in an insurance company. So these are use cases that makes it much more useful for the ecosystem build services for the end consumers.